clouds, somewhere far away. All that's left of this place are these broken remains. Wait for the dust to settle. We came crashing down, so many stories buried underground, waiting to be found. We'll take to the sky, and I will find your memories somehow. Secrets that were lost when we forgot who we were before the world broke down. I will find these fragments of our past. I will find these pieces of us. I see your footprints on the ground, leading out of sight. I catch a glimpse of what we were. Are we running out of time? Open your eyes to all the colors and the lights. I've waited here so long to bring these stories back to life. We'll take to the sky, and I will find your memories somehow. Secrets that were lost when we forgot who we were before the world broke down. I will find these fragments of our past. I will find these pieces of us. We'll take to the sky, and I will find your memories somehow. Secrets that were lost when we forgot who we were
Hey everyone, and welcome to the stream. My name's Adam, I'm the community manager for Lostskies, and today we are joined by our amazing devs, Luke and Tom. You probably know them from Discord.
Hello.
Aye.
We're going to be continuing where we left off with the last stream when we ran out of time. If you haven't seen part one of the stream, the VOD's available on both our YouTube and Twitch accounts. You can probably find it through our socials. While you're here, please drop us a follow or sub, and remember to wishlist Lostskies on Steam. If you have any questions, I'm going to be hanging out. I'm going to be hanging out in the chat on all of our platforms we're streaming to, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. For those viewers that didn't watch part one and have no idea who we are, we're going to just do some intros again real quick. Tom, what do you do at Bossa?
Hello. My name's Tom. I'm a principal developer, and I'm kind of specialized in gameplay, although everyone at Bossa wears many hats, so we kind of do everything. I'm kind of responsible for the character controller, all of the sort of physics in the game, and the island creator, which is why I guess I'm here today.
Cool. And Luke, do you want to do a bit of an intro as well?
Yeah, so I'm Luke, the lead designer at Bossa Studios and the lead designer on Lostskies. And I've been around a while. So I've been at Bossa for 13 years, and previously you would have known me for doing the same job on World Adrift.
Isn't that like a third of your
hopefully,
life?
yes, yeah, pretty much. I've lived and breathed floating island games for the last decade. So,
okay, let's dive a bit deeper into these roles as well. So, what does a day look like for Tom at Bossa?
Oh my god. Okay.
Sorry, they're totally unprepped for this, by the way, guys. So,
like I suppose there's a PR answer and there's a real answer, right? So, the real answer is get up about 2 minutes to 10 for stand up at 10 a.m. and no, really, we're all ready and working by 10 a.m. Right now it is basically all hands on deck to try and get the demo up to speed. So most of it is bug fixing, quality of life, things like that. But I'll just be basically tackling the biggest and worst offending bugs in the build, and it's mostly just heads down and get stuff done.
cool.
Most of my life just breathing code, to be honest.
What about you, Luke? What's your usual day look like? I guess it varies.
Yeah, apart from
daily,
looking
right?
incredibly pale, I'm just actually trying to get Dream Chat to separate in a window, so I can stop blinding everyone with my pale features.
That's better.
It's because I moved the monitor off. I'm trying to get like just Steam Chat up, the Stream Chat, but it's being fickle. But yeah, I mean, it's just wake up and and go through this spinning plates task of everything that needs either designing for other people, because we have like artists who are like, what objects are dropping, what's important, what do we need models and art for. Then the coders are like, hey, I'm building this part of the ship, or hey, I'm doing the loot system here, or hey, I'm doing AI stuff here. Like, what's needed, what should the design be, what matches it. But then on the side of that, I'm also kind of like, in the last couple of weeks, it's been all hands on getting the demo up to speed. So the stuff that I can somewhat control, which is all of the like tutorialization and questing and things like that, making sure the text is accurate, the tasks complete correctly, and it all flows nicely together. So yeah, it's just getting all of that up to a nice place for everyone to experience the demo soon.
So, for both of you, in non-dev way, lots of stuff, just all the time. Okay, that's good. Right.
It's a great project to work on because it is a relatively small team for the size of the project that it is. And so it is new challenges every day. You're always working on some new thing that's broken or some new challenge that you're trying to do. Yeah, and a lot of the time you're questioning Luke on his decisions of why this should happen a certain way.
or ignoring them, but then I find
yeah.
out later that I'm like, why is it doing this? Someone
Yeah.
took some creative liberty and was like, oh, well,
It's like to keep it interesting, man. You know, keep you on your toes.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Right then, should we jump into this? Okay, let's go to now. Just so you know, just in case there's any errors with this stream, we're trying a new thing where so you guys have got 2 POVs on this now, so we can switch between them. It might not work, but we'll try. So we're going to try Luke's POV first, I guess. Does that work?
You're trying Tom's.
We're doing
POV
Tom's first. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Oh, I thought I was playing all this time. People were watching me do some cool moves.
No, it was just our faces, which is why I was particularly pale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. Good luck.
I mean, the last stream I was at Tom's house, so maybe next time I'll go back to Tom's house.
Yeah.
And then he's got proper professional cameras.
Cool. So, yeah, I guess we can jump
See if
right into
switching
all
to
the
Luke's
stuff.
works.
Yeah, should we try that? Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Oh, no, it stopped. Okay.
Awesome.
At least we've got an advert in for Linus Tech Tips then. That was good. Cool. I'll try and fix that whilst we're looking at your POV then, Tom, if that works.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we can, while we're here, we might as well give a big shout out to Drift, who is the creator of this island. This was fresh off the workshop was uploaded today. So we were just looking at it because we haven't seen it yet, and it's really cool. It's called Hermit Hideaway. Yeah. And yeah, it's awesome. I love how he's used all these sort of stalactites to really shape to make the island look interesting from a distance, as well as just the crazy amount of detail up close is awesome. And there may be some puzzles on here as well. I haven't really explored very much. It looks like there's something going on here with 3 little indicators that are all red. So I'm guessing you've got to do something here. But yeah, this is a great part of the job, to be honest with you, is when you just get a bunch of super talented people just uploading things, they're using the tools that you made, and just really, yeah, just kind of blowing you away, making things that you didn't know was possible. Just love
I want
it.
to see our new lighting is looking particularly.
Yes, very nice. Oh, look, he's
It's
used
nice
like energy
seamless.
walls as windows. That's pretty.
Yeah,
pretty
we
cool.
see that a lot, which is kind of like it definitely was anticipated in a way, especially because it gives you the because they can be turned on and off.
Yeah.
It creates like a really nice way of going like, hey, there's stuff in here, but you can't quite access it yet potentially.
Oh, shit.
Okay, so it's like a trap.
Yeah.
So you like hit the switch and then a turret appears.
This is really cool. Yeah, previously in the
Oh,
last
I guess
stream-
because it's like a hermit hideaway, so it's that classic kind of almost like Bill from like The Last of Us, right? Where you approach their house and it's basically
Oh,
filled
yeah.
with traps, which
I
is
see.
cool. So
Yeah,
now you seem to have
yeah.
activated the trap at this hermit hideaway, and
Yeah.
now you're getting shot up. So yeah, this stuff like this opportunity for little like bits of storytelling. I mean, that's always been such a big part of what Worlds Adrift is, and what I think makes what we're trying to carry over into Lostskies, right? Is because every island is handcrafted, you get to tell your own little stories and surprises for the players, and so you're not just exploring a procedural landscape where you start to notice the pattern, which I think was one of the things that we really wanted to see if we could change up how we do that without actually handcrafting. Or you got some permission,
Strong initiative textures there. That's fine.
Andy. Come
Yeah.
on, you're in chat. What have you done? So yeah, and we just really wanted to solve that, because I think exploration games are really about just exploring the unknown and not quite knowing what you're going to find or what you're going to see, and it's just not like when you want to have the world the size that we do with hundreds of islands, it's just not feasible, not for a team of our size. And so letting the players kind of come in and create those moments and those experiences is really cool. And so you get just things like this where no two islands are the same, and it's great to start seeing that come in from the community.
I think there's also like there's definitely like just a psychological thing that when you know something's made by a person, it feels more purposeful. Like I think like you're saying about the patterns of procedural generation and stuff, it might not even be that you know something's procedural, but after a while everything just sort of blends into this thing that is quite forgetful once you've seen hundreds of procedurally generated things, because they're all using the same algorithm. But like a rock that, there's a quote, isn't there, from like a GDC talk where someone says like a rock that's placed on top of a hill by a person is infinitely more important than like 1,000 rocks placed by an algorithm. And I think that's kind of true. I do remember like the original Worlds Adrift was going to have some procedural content in it, wasn't it? We were like, we'll have mostly procedural islands, and then we'll put in these kind of like sort of key islands in that were made by people. And so we were going to have a world that was mostly procedural, but then you'd have these sort of like story islands that were basically made by people. But the response to the island creator was so good, we had so many that we didn't need the procedural stuff anymore, and that just that elevated things, I think.
That was like that kind of like big moment when, oh look, you've activated one of the things.
Yeah,
you have. You
have
inadvertently done one.
Yeah.
And it is that idea of like, oh wait, we don't actually need to do procedural. And that's kind of like the game changer with this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I've definitely got some things on my. I'm running in editor on a build that isn't public, so if there's any sort of issues, then it's just because this isn't the live build. So yeah, it's to be expected. There'll be a few things. I'm kind of doing that because there's like there's a debug mode in the editor where we can actually view islands that other people have made as if we've made them, sort of thing. You can
hacks. I mean, actually do that. Let's see what the puzzle setup we've got going on here.
So I can put this into a full edit mode, even though it's not my island, within the editor, so I can see.
Tom, you can just debugging. Hit the save button, push upload, but like then delete there.
Oh, hey,
from
it's mine.
And then be there like, I made this.
I'm not going to do that. Don't worry. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of puzzle stuff going on here, man.
So this is the scripting view. So here we can see where it's hooked up the switches, the rewards, the puzzles, and what activates the turret. And this is at the core of like, this never existed in Worlds Adrift. This was a big push from us. We talked about how do we get more out of these islands other than just, hey, I'm exploring unique, like, sort of like layouts and art and an environment, right? We really wanted to push that beyond that and say, what can a player do to create puzzles, to create challenges, especially making sure they were cooperative, right? So as you're exploring these islands with your friends, you can kind of get together and say, okay, what's going on here? How do we solve it? How do we get to the treasure? And I think that was a big push here. So there was a big amount of work going into this scripting, visual scripting kind of knowledge here and logic of hooking things up. This stream we're going to go into a little bit more details about what options you have and how you can kind of utilize those and how we've approached them anyway. So hopefully kind of answers maybe some questions or give some ideas to people who are wondering how things have worked. So I know we've seen questions kind of crop up in Discord over the last few weeks. So
yeah, absolutely. That was kind of the focus of this stream, was going to be more about the sort of more advanced tools that we have, including the puzzles. But I did want to take an opportunity just to like shout out a couple of islands that we've noticed as well, which that one came up today. This is another one that we wanted to look at. Neither of us have seen this yet, right, Luke?
No. I saw some screenshots and I knew it would look cool.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe it'll be cool. Yeah, let's see. Let's find out together.
But it's because I love islands that really take advantage of the setting, and so this is this hanging village that's on the underside of the island. So like on the surface, you're like, okay, it's all cool, but then like below it is this like little sort of like
amazing.
small village or structure, which really takes advantage of your grappling hook and that sort of scary sort of like, if you're a fear of heights and you've got nothing but the expanse below you, I think that kind of stuff is really cool.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Just to let you know, Luke's POV is now working, so please let me know when you want me to switch.
Yes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Cool.
I didn't know it was broken.
Yeah, it was me, not you. It's fine.
Yeah, this looks great. I suppose that you probably can see that from fairly far away as well, like that there's something under there. So as you're approaching this island, you'll probably want to gravitate towards that bottom part. Yeah, that's really cool.
And again, it's just something that you would never be able to do with, between the Hermit's hideout and this one. I see it's got a ship anti-turret there. That's cool. We added those recently. So that's going to as your ship approaches this island, those things are specifically designed to target ships. So they will awaken, and then basically you're going to have to use your cannons and other weapons on your ship to basically take them out. So they're going to have a lot of HP. They're going to hit hard, and your little piddly sort of pistols and stuff aren't really going to cut it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. Just get those little surprises as your ship kind of is in danger there.
I don't see a way to get to the top of the island as well. So I guess the only way you would get down here is through grappling or using your ship, which is why those turrets are also even cooler. I'm going to make it stay at daytime so I can see. Yeah. The top is very unassuming. I mean, it's perfectly laid out. It feels very believable, but yeah. It's just it's just a nice
hidden secrets.
Just a nice space. Yeah. Till you see the underside, and there's this little village. That's so cool. He's made really nice use of all the foliage as well. All these vines, they really sell it.
So yeah, in regards to risk reward stuff, there is. So we're still in the stages of balancing it, but you'll notice on the right there, the world preview. If Tom clicks a few of those, you'll see actually your island transition into a different kind of palette. And these are essentially almost like difficulties.
Yeah.
So an island that ends up in Azure Grove or the Atlas Plains will end up being a lot more challenging, and they'll have higher level enemies. And we kind of have a few internal rules as to how we sort of dictate whether the island kind of fits into those. But it does mean that yes, you'll have higher level enemies, and then those resources and those enemies will actually drop higher level resources. But I imagine at the point where we hand the kind of world creation to the players, which won't happen at launch, but we've got it in the roadmap, will allow you to kind of bring in any islands you want and just set their difficulty. So if you decide that this island should be a really hard one, you can just set its level, and then sort of place it where you want it in your world. And so you'll be able to get to fine tune some a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, with the world layout specifically, which is obviously it's a post-launch feature that we're going to add to sort of increase the longevity of the game, is to let people make their own world layouts, choose the islands they want in their world, set the difficulty. People can make worlds that are all insanely hard, if they want, and make a super hardcore server, or make it all really easy and make it a very chill experience. It's kind of just not telling people how to enjoy themselves, just letting them do what they want and how they choose to spend their time in the game.
Yeah, because I know we mentioned it in the FAQ, but yes, this is all going to have self-hosted, custom sort of player-run servers this time around, and we really want to embrace that. And if you want a full sandbox PvP hellhole, you can do that. But obviously, from a design point of view, we're really trying to make sure that core PvE kind of co-op experience is really solid and compelling. As for Invis Hood there, so in terms of expecting a similar pack of larger flat islands, I guess, for starting, I mean that's really down to the players. I know a lot of those initial islands in Worlds Adrift that were quite kind of empty and flat were because I made them because I wanted a good sort of starting base for lots of players. So I actually made a lot of those initial islands, mostly because the community just went a little bit nuts on all the big ancient temples and, and ruins and stuff. So I was like, oh damn, there's nothing that's quite nice and basic for the players to start on. So that's the thing with what islands we kind of are excited to see coming into the island creator. It doesn't have to be these huge complex temples with all sorts of triggers and traps and enemies and stuff, it can just be quite a nice, serene, simple, beautiful island that just perfectly fits as somewhere to start on. Obviously, this time around, you are not at the mercy of some like Badlands equipped skyship that's going to just come and nuke you while you try and make a sail ship. So there's less need for these kind of like massive expansive islands. But certainly there's room for them to fit in there. Especially when we talk about custom server rules and things like that.
This is one that I've already seen, but I really like this one. This is Serene Cove by Sir Amazius. Okay, probably got that wrong, but this is a good example of what you're saying. Like it's not a super complicated island. There's no crazy puzzle system. There isn't like tons of traps and things, but it's just a really nice space that just feels really unique. It's a really cool shape. When you go inside, there's like a little cave.
Nice little lighting coming through.
Yeah, it's really atmospheric feeling environment and touch of storytelling here. Just a little camp, but yeah, like this is a lovely sort of like just like a second or third island that you might come across, because it's not going to be, there's not enough room for it to be hostile. There's not going to be a huge amount of enemies or tons of traps and things, but it just feels really complete and on its own.
Yeah, there'll be a few resources there, and
yeah.
And, we'll have we still have like procedural resource spawns, so there's every chance this island might have some of that rare gold metal ore that you're looking for.
You never know,
and things like that. So yeah, we still have a lot of procedural systems in the background working, but obviously the aim of the exploration game is these really unique handcrafted spaces for you to swing around and explore.
Yeah, this is lovely. Cool. I was going to say, I saw a question from Bewilderbeast that asked if we needed to DM our own world, which is not a... Like, the game will have the sort of Bossa approved world, which is what we're calling it internally, which is basically just a world that we've laid out. So if you just hit play in the game and you don't want to do any of that sort of UGC stuff, you'll just get put into a game world that is like a crafted experience that we have balanced ourselves. So that's always there as an option. That's what the initial launch will be as well, that it'll have this Bossa curated world. That we still want to include islands that people have made up to the point of release, for sure. But yeah, like in Worlds Adrift, we did have quite a convoluted process of getting the islands into the game, because it was a single server setup, or I think we had 2 or 3 servers, but there was one world layout for that version of the game. And so if a person wanted to get their island in the game, then they had to put it on the workshop. Like, it needed to be upvoted. We needed to see it, and then it was like basically up to us to put it into the game. And yeah, we learned a lot from Worlds Adrift, and one of those things is like really giving all the power back to the players. So the long-term goal is that isn't the only way. We want there to be you to have full control if you want it.
So the UGC element, like Tom was kind of alluding to, it's not just for community servers. We will have a kind of a favorite list, essentially, because I know one of the big things we wanted, which will come as no surprise to people who played Worlds Adrift, was we didn't want to, you buy the game and you hit like a server queue, or you run like a full server and all those things. So by having kind of like custom self-hosted servers, you press play, because the reality is a lot of players are just going to be like, I bought the game, just press play, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we want that experience to be solid. So yeah, it's just a case of there's going to be islands that we kind of curate and make sure that they kind of fit. They play great, they look great, all those other things, right? This kind of like
for sure.
Bossa approved in a way. And that'll expand over time as we get more islands and we update the island creator for more regions and biomes and things like that. So that'll continue sort of similarly to what Worlds Adrift had.
Speaking of regions, Luke, shall we show a little sneak peek of
We can. It's currently at night time to
Regency.
make sure that my face isn't completely blown out.
Oh well,
But,
you're gonna have to go ghost
but
face, and then
we can
yeah.
certainly show you, and maybe I pick a nice time of day that doesn't completely blow my face out.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to be doing is going on.
Oh yeah, Adam, switch over to Luke's POV.
One of my islands. So I'm in a slightly more recent version of the Iron Crater that's not public yet. But you can see, as Tom's got there, we have the outskirts and the Midlands, which will be the second region you enter as you pass the wind wall. And the wind wall is the thing that kind of divides up our world. These weather barriers. So your ship needs to be powerful enough to survive these kind of like sort of quite dangerous ordeals of passing through very erratic weather. So upon kind of like passing through a wind wall, you arrive at region 2, or the Midlands. Like, I still gotta stop calling it the dev internal terms
Region 2 is fine,
because
yeah.
they will stick. They
Yeah.
always stick. So anyway, if you pass by the wind walls, I think they're called wind rifts actually. No, windfalls. They got renamed. So they're the windfalls, and passing through those will take you from the outskirts into the Midlands. Which, if
You
you're from
used the right
England,
terms
the
there.
fact that they're called the Midlands is quite funny.
You go from
So-
Scotland to Birmingham. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a slightly more like sort of autumnal region with sort of new ruins. It's got some oak trees and other things like that. So this is an island that I've been building. And it's got a little bit more of the. Well, it's got a new puzzle type because we want to expand the game as you sort of travel into new areas. But also I want to go through, if you didn't have a chance last stream, to just take a look at some of these like difficulty settings that we have on the puzzles.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of where that player surprise and creativity can come from. So I was just going to go in and check and build some of these puzzles. So we'll start with the first on the list, which is the data drone. We did add little info panels here for each one. I think when you place them.
Yeah.
But the
once you put
data
it down
drone
and select.
is like a co-op kind of guide for you to sort of build into your islands. Now, obviously, this like ruin area is a big point of interest, so we probably doesn't need it. But if you wanted to, you can say, well, I want the player specifically to enter this building, right? Like, because there's some stuff. There's a treasure, and there's actually a little player challenge, and we can get into those later. So what I can say is go, all right, well, I want the data drone to start there. That's where I want the player to go. If I click on this, I get the little puzzle that the little video, that explains what it's all about. I get some controls. In this case, it's the actual speed of the drone. So in relation to like how difficult you want to make it, that's like, or how fast you want it to go, right? How fast is it gonna sort of do you need to be to sort of keep up with it? But then it has waypoints, so you basically simply press the waypoint to create one. I see the shader is broken. It's another Andy job.
I think that's how it's supposed to be.
I don't think it is. Is it? Okay,
It just
we'll
happens
see.
to share
It's just
the
it's the
same
it's
magenta as
the default magenta, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can just select this waypoint, and then you can just simply Control D to duplicate. And what this does is create a little path. As you can see, every time I create and move it, it's connecting to the origin point. And so I'm basically creating a little path for it to go. And so I might say, okay, that's where I want it to sort of hang out. And actually, I mean, I built this little camp over here. So what you could do is, let's actually make it fly up so it looks a little bit more realistic. So I know if the player ever finds this camp, there'll be a little drone there waiting for them that will then guide them to that building over there. So once you're kind of happy with the route, you can then go back to the actual route object, and you can see here now all the waypoints are listed there. And I can change the speed, so I can make it quite quick, make it quite really slow if I just want the player to slowly follow it, and I can tweak that as I want. The big thing here would be on the waypoints, you can actually set each one to wait, which means that it will wait at that waypoint and not move on. So you can kind of like have it run away a little bit and then wait and then like sort of stop. Maybe it enters the cave and then waits at the entrance to the cave. So it doesn't just beeline it straight for the exit, straight for the podium. And if the player misses it, it's like, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
if you have a lot of
missed it.
like twists and turns, you'd probably want to wait
Yeah.
so that it catches up with them. Yeah, it doesn't have to get the player doesn't have to go and find them.
Yeah, so I can, if I then come out for a bit of a view, and then I go past the waypoints, you can see I'm actually highlighting them. So I can see which one is which. And if I decide that, like, okay, you find it at the camp, but I want it to stop at this one here. So I want you to see it fly away from the camp, but then wait for you, so it doesn't run off into the building. So I just find, in this case, waypoint 3, and I tell it to wait.
Yeah.
So I click wait, and then you simply just test it. So now the player's running around. They can see we've given them like that little scan beam, like maybe it's scanning those ruins, and you can, that kind of brings your attention to it. So you can go, oh, hey, look, let me go see what's over here. In this case, there's a turret there, so there's a little bit of defense. You just kill that.
Just a quick one, Luke. This puzzle module is in region 1 as well, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Whatever we called it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you kill the turret that's defending it, and then when you get close enough, it will basically run away from you. As you can see, it's quite slow, and I might decide that's too slow. And so I then bring out of my edit thing here. I'll bring out a play mode, go select that, and I just go to drone speed and say, let's give it an 8.4, and then let's go again. And obviously at this point, everything resets, the turret's back. You can keep testing how it plays. But then when I get close enough to drone, he's much faster now. And you might go, okay, we should chase that. And a lot of our sort of puzzle design was always about how do we make it in-world? How do we make it so a group of you can sort of still all follow along? It doesn't take place in a UI or anything like that. So, you know, 4 eyes are better than 2. So, if you are playing with friends, you can all kind of keep an eye on it, even if it is potentially like a really fast drone, like you set that speed really quick. So as you can see now, he waits at that checkpoint because I told it to. But now if I sort of disturb him again, he'll then run all the way into the building. He'll phase through objects, as you can see. He actually has a little effect if he has to pass through an object, so he doesn't get blocked by anything. And then he'll run away, and you can chase him, and then he's run into this building, and then he is then at his podium. Ta-da! And at this point, that's not actually given me anything. He's just run and guided me to maybe a building that I wouldn't have explored otherwise. If I wanted to, and just say, well, I want the player to be rewarded for finding the drone and bringing it back, I can go into my rewards here, and I can say, okay, let's go into loot containers here. Maybe I'm going to award them with a weapons locker. And so I'm going to place a weapons locker just nearby. Make sure that all that's set up. Now, if I don't do anything else with it, the player's just going to be able to sort of like just open that if they want to, because you can see the lights are sort of greenish blue, which means that you can just it's got nothing going into it, nothing come out of it in terms of the logic system, so it just can be opened by players. If I then go to this, I can see the little inputs and outputs here, so I can go, let's click and drag this into the chest, and you'll see it's now gone red and it's locked, which means until the drone is back on this podium, this chest will not open. And that's how you kind of start to then hook up these sort of sequences to force the players to figure out the puzzles and stuff. I even have a player challenge here, or like a chest here. So if I wanted to, this chest can be freely opened. It makes more sense to say, hey, you know what, this chest opens when this is completed as well. I could, of course, have wanted to be a little bit illogical. I could then say this chest doesn't open until this one's open. So you're quite free to kind of hook these things up how you want, and you can just follow this little path there and see how it works. And then maybe you're like, yeah, this little player challenge here, that doesn't work until the player's opened all the chests. But you know, there's a little bit of a how illogical do you want to make it? But
Yeah,
again, you're free to kind of
it's very up
customize
to
how
the
you want.
player. But
Yeah,
it's multi-input, multi-output as well. So you can that drone landing on that drone platform could open both of those chests, or it could
yeah,
like
this.
that chest could require two things for it to open. You could have a second input on that chest from another puzzle element. It's very open-ended in that way.
Yeah.
Again,
So in this case, if I wanted to, I can say, well, no, this to open this chest, you need to open this one and complete the puzzle. It doesn't make any sense, but you could do that.
no.
And then
it
if you
doesn't
click
make
on this chest, you can then see the inputs here, and you can hover over them, and it will show you here are the inputs. So it's saying that this will not unlock until both of these conditions are met. So in this case, until this chest is opened, and this data drone is back on his podium. And then from this menu as well, you can just click off all those requirements as well. So clicking on any object will give you this inputs and outputs, and that's what allows you to, you know, edit some of this and adjust how they're kind of opened or closed and all those other things.
We just got a question in the chat asking about physics puzzles, like dropping a ball into a pressure chamber or shooting stuff. Maybe you could.
Was that a plant? Did we plan
It
that
wasn't, but it's just convenient, so I thought I'd bring it up because I know that's the thing that we do have and we can show. Yeah.
I do have one set up. So the first physics puzzle is actually exclusive to this region. So this will be a puzzle that is not currently in the island creator. If you're building an island in the outskirts, you won't get this puzzle. It's a more advanced puzzle, let's say. Just for the sake of like testing, I'm going to turn it off because currently you need to complete this pylon puzzle in order to activate it. But all I can simply do is click that off, and then this becomes active from the get-go. Obviously, I've tried to tell a little bit of a story here, where you know this part of the ruins is sort of caved in, and this is broken. So I come in, and this is why we've added the Atlas lifter to you can toss these out and attach to things. And that's because one of these puzzles, this one here, if I go near it and activated it, it then creates this sort of cube. So by attaching a lifter to it, it's now got anti-gravity and it can float. And so now as a group or by yourself, you can then lift and it's now got anti-gravity. The same thing that makes your skyships float is now being added to this object. I think the thing will run out soon. There you go. The Atlas is now gone, and it is still a physics object. So if you wanted to, you can actually just physically drag it to where you need to go. But it's a little bit slow, and it's a little bit it takes its time. But you'll notice anyone who played Worlds Adrift, and you had the Marauder's compass, you'll notice there's a little Atlas crystal on the inside of this object, and that's actually pointing to the socket that it needs to go to, its destination. And again, we didn't want that to be some sort of UI element limited to a single player. We wanted that to be this co-op experience, so everyone can look at it and go, okay, I can see this crystal is pointing this way. That must be where it needs to go. And so you can attach a lifter to it, grab your grappling hook, and basically walk the dog and bring your little box. And you'll see as well, if I like spin it and rotate it, the little crystal inside is always pointing to where it wants to go. So let's give it another Atlas lifter so it doesn't run out. And then let's give it a yank and then sort of propel it in the right direction.
It's like a really dangerous kite. Love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or balloon, sorry, balloon. It's more like...
As you can see, it's guiding me to these ruins. So it's in a way, it's kind of like the data drone, and we can in that we can use it to like guide the player to like, you know, more interesting points of your island. In this case, it's taking you into these ruins with some nice lighting coming through there.
Just had a question from chat that's relevant to puzzles, actually. It was... I've lost it. This is terrible streaming, sorry. There we go. Are there any games whose puzzle systems have influenced you or you enjoy particularly? I guess that goes to
Yeah,
both
I
of
mean,
you.
a lot of this is all Breath of the Wild inspired, to be honest.
Yeah,
It was
just a bit.
always like those little kind of puzzles strewn out across the open world that would then like lead you, like you rewarded the player for, hey, I want to climb that mountain, or hey, I want to go deep inside this cave, and there's something there that's a little bit of gameplay, but also it's the way that you understand what the puzzle is. So as a player, and here I've got to the destination. I can look at this and go, oh, it needs an object. I need like a cube to slot into that. I need a key to open this. And it's like you instantly understand it because you recognize what it needs. But because we have, we're a floating island world and its physics, the the idea of getting this to the key slot can like change. Suddenly it's like, well, what if it's on an island, separate from this one, and I need to drag, and I don't mean like a full island, I mean kind of like, that
Yeah,
you built like
a
an
satellite
extra
island. Yeah.
yeah, I built an extra bit of landmass here, and you need to get it across there, right? There's lots of things you can do. This could be trapped behind like one of these energy walls we talked about, right? And maybe this won't, I can't get this out until I've solved like another puzzle to unblock it. So there's lots of ways you can kind of like layer up these puzzles,
But
to
also that
create this is like, just sort of interesting and
one of
challenging
the
kind of gameplay.
I just thought of something to do with this sort of the inspiration stuff. But there's like after Breath of the Wild came out and like all the shrine puzzles were then getting solved by all these speedrunners in insane ways, right? You were seeing these crazy like speed solves of shrine puzzles, and we didn't want to put too many limitations on how these things are solved. Like the logic is very simple. It's just get that cube into that hole. If somebody makes a little tiny ship that can hold one of these cubes and then they fly it over in their ship and then roll their ship over and put it in, it's like that's fine. That's still a solve in our book. Like that's, we don't want to like stop any sort of like super creative ways to solve these things. So yeah, it's the joys of having like a very physics based game is in the same way that Breath of the Wild is there's going to be the very interesting solutions to some of these problems that we didn't foresee.
You can just punch the cube
Put it in there, man.
into the slot. Ta-da! And then that unlocks the gate. And I'm free to further explore down this mysterious elevator shaft here. So we go down, and then like that's how you kind of you tell your stories and reward the player. So at the bottom of the lift shaft, there's some old bodies here from the poor souls who used to live in the world before. Obviously these don't drop any loot, but they're set up to be like, hey, you've solved the puzzle, you get some loot, you can play with some dead bodies. What more do you want? And then you get to explore further. So it's all about like unlocking bits of the island, exploring further. So in this case, you find a cave. You explore through it. Maybe you find some creatures that might have spawned in the cave. And then, actually, I need to set this up. The lighting, of course. How could I forget? Jump through. Well, because I took a lot of time to.
Oh, you made a little hole at the top, didn't you? Yeah.
Just right. So
yeah.
in about 1 in 1,000 players, they'll come into this room and they'll actually built like a hole in the island ceiling, so you get this sort of little bit of a set piece moment. And again, this is the advantage of these handcrafted spaces is that players can discover these kind of ruins and these surprises, which is always part of the joy of all of this. And I've actually blocked with an energy wall the top there, so you can't actually get through that way. So it actually blocked off, but it lets the light come through.
Yeah, because obviously if someone could get in there, they'd just bypass that whole cube puzzle thing that you meticulously crafted. Yeah.
Yes, but there's another gate. Actually, there's I can't quite get into the ruins. There's another sort of gate blocking the way here. But at the same time, I still want to reward exploration of this space. So if anyone's feeling curious, this is spoilers, by the way. there's actually a chest hidden up there. So I love those kind of, because you get to place
Nice.
and reward players who get curious. I think that's really one of the biggest strengths of this handcrafted world. Is that, yeah, like if a random player decides that he's just going to actually get curious and explore this top bit there, then oh my god, I found a big chest, one of the biggest reward chests that we give you. And so they get to feel rewarded for just, going off the beaten track a little bit, or exploring where they shouldn't have. But I do want to jump back to this physics puzzle thing, because I know we talked about what options and things you have for difficulty. So if I actually click on this base unit here, you can see actually there's the object type. So while I had a cube, if I wanted something that was a little bit more finicky for physics, I can change it to a sphere. So now, if I go to the entry point, you see it's changed. Now it wants a sphere. And in some ways that could be easier, that could be harder, depending on how you build your island. Like I said, a lot of push for these puzzles where I recognize the elements, but the solution is not always the same, because we're in a big physics-driven, like, handcrafted world. No one solution is ever going to solve everything. And so you can do that. If you want it to be extra challenging, you could turn off the compass. So that little atlas crystal I showed you that was pointing the direction of where this thing should go, you can turn that off. I think we add a little note here as well. So it's compass enabled. For an easier puzzle, an atlas compass can be enabled that lives inside the key object and points to the keyhole. If you decide to turn it off and make like a hard mode, basically, version of it, then we kind of like, it's up to you then to kind of give the player a clue. And so you might decide to go in here and say, let me find, is it ornaments?
Are you going to try and draw an arrow?
Metal directive. No. I mean, you could do that.
Yeah.
I could. But what I could do is I could then say, like, maybe I haven't used this symbol anywhere, and I can just attach that onto this, scale it down, and say, hey, like, maybe this is a clue to the puzzle of where this thing goes. So I can place that there, or somewhere equally obvious. And if I duplicate that and then bring it over to,
I see what you're planning,
where the socket is.
Yeah, so doing this would mean that they would have to have, like, maybe they've walked past this this object receiver before and seen that symbol, and then when they see the object spawner, they go, oh, I saw that symbol before, I know where this needs to go.
So I mean, this is probably like very obscure and very difficult. I'm just using it as a very rough, quick example. Yeah. And then I might then place this here, right? And you can lay it out and set up how you want. So now when the player is exploring here and they go, oh, okay, I understand I need an object hole, but what's this strange symbol mean? What is that for? But then when I'm actually here, and and I can see this object hole, and I go, oh, here's the sphere. It doesn't have. It's a lot harder because now it's rolling around. It doesn't have the compass inside it, but maybe I've seen that symbol before, or maybe like someone else, one of your friends, has been exploring the island, and they go, oh, I've seen that symbol, like, follow me, and that's another way that, one, you've made the puzzle more difficult, but you've made it a little bit more involved, you've made it a little bit more challenging. And so that's the options on this particular puzzle type. Now there are lots of puzzle settings to really increase the challenge that we've added. So for example, if you saw last time we demonstrated the pylon puzzle, this one originally was to activate this, actually, and it's already quite difficult because you actually need to. I don't even want to try it because I'm going to mess it up live on stream, but it's not important. What you can do is, you can see here there's a tick box for ordered. So traditionally the pylon puzzle is just, if you haven't seen it before, you attach your cable to the center of the generator, and then as you wrap the cable around the pylons, they turn on and they activate. So here's a little bit of a challenge because you have to like jump button and sort of hook around this one,
Oh,
I'm
nailed
actually going
it.
to do it live. I'm going to do it live. And so in this case, boom, puzzle's completed.
Nice.
So it needs a little bit of grappling, needs a little bit of a challenge there, but you know, there's almost like an order implied by where I placed them. So again, this is where, as a player, you see the generator, you see the pylons. I understand what's needed, but how do I approach it? You know, maybe one of these, you know, because if I was to reset, you know, it doesn't make because of the nature of it. The grapple always needs to remain hooked here. If I decide to go for this one first, you know, how do I plan now to get back up to hook around the other ones? See, so I've kind of like, you can design these to sort of naturally guide the player, because they're suddenly they're thinking, okay, well I clearly can't start with this one because how the hell am I going to get the other pylons? Now, if you wanted to make that even more like required, I think I've ordered them correctly. So you can see if I go down the list, pylon 1 is that one, and pylon 2 is that one, pylon 3, pylon 4, as shown. If I want to, I can actually hit ordered. And that means that the player has to basically complete them in that order. Otherwise, it fails. So I guess what's the way of demonstrating this? So I just delete those two. So I've only got these two pylon puzzles, but I have set it to ordered. And so now if I go... Actually, I don't know if I can even reach this one before the other one. Let's see. Oh, I should be able to, yeah. So, because I've got it ordered, the one that's closest to the generator is the one that should be completed first, or should be wrapped around first. But I've done it the wrong way around. So when I actually do this, it will go boom and it will fail. The pylons go off, I get a bad sound, and it's actually failed. But if I do it correctly, in the correct order as listed, it'll light up, the little thing pops out the generator and it's completed. So when we do these ordered things, it's at that point that we leave it to the player to give those clues.
Yeah, because
and
they can be environmental, right? Like we've seen people use
exactly,
just like a number, like a different number of rocks around each pylon. So it's like
yeah.
the one that's 1 has 1 rock next to it, the one that's 2 has 2 rocks next to it, and it just gives you this sort of like slight detective gameplay on top, which is really nice.
So in this case, you know, I've got like a pylon here, and I might decide the way I'm going to tell the player which is the correct order. Then I'll leave a little, you know, maybe I'll scale them down, so like little figurines, and I'll say that one's 1. And then over here, I'll go, you know what, I'm going to leave 2 here. Now, this is obviously like not challenging whatsoever, but just to give you the idea. So a player's like, okay, I know I need to wrap around these cables, but my god, it's so difficult. Like the one I tried, it didn't work. What's going on? And then they can look around and go, well, this one has 2 next to it. This one has 1. I wonder if that's the order. And you know, yes, it is in this case, but it's when we let the environment give you clues on how to solve these things, it really could be anything that as a player you want. And as cryptic and as difficult as you want, obviously bearing in mind that players might not be able to solve it. So if I go into, you know, what we showed you before, if we go to narrative, for example, oh, there's a data pad. Okay, well let's stick a data pad next to it. Let's delete these clues, because you know we don't need. I'll delete something else then. God, I'm worried what I actually deleted. Fine, I control undo. That was it. And so yeah, I can then be like, you know, this data pad is the thing that's going to tell the player how to solve it. So do the nearest one first, you idiot, if I wanted to.
Wow.
Just, you know, because if they've got it wrong, then they weren't thinking right. And so here I've decided, yes, there you go, do the nearest one first, you idiot. And then maybe that's not very cryptic, or it might be, but the player might go, oh, yes, okay, that's why it was failing. I need to wrap around the first pylon first. And so maybe you want to set justice as well and go back into narrative and stick a dead body there. And you can click him and start simulating. There we go. So now there's a dead body by the data pad. And that is what we call storytelling.
Nice, man.
That is quick hapdash storytelling. So the other thing that you can do on pylon puzzles for difficulty is you can add dummy pylons. And when you've created one of these, they look exactly like the real pylons, but they're not. They're false. They're red herrings. They will actually break the puzzle if you try to complete them with it. So let's just say I stick a couple of ones here as well. And suddenly there's 4. And the way that we actually calculate this is we know that the puzzle requires 2 pylons to complete. So we will allow you to wrap around 2. So if I wrap around this one, it will go, everything's all dandy apparently, and I wrap around this one. Oh, but it locked, it failed. Okay. Well, let's wrap around the correct one first. Everything's good. Then I wrap around the second one. Oh, it failed again. So it's still looking for 2 pylons for you to wrap around, but it knows and you know which ones are the correct 2. And it's up to you to basically, as a creator, to clue the player in. And again, we can go to the environmental pieces here, and let's say we put. I'm trying to think of something a little bit more obscure. Maybe we go into, not that it would make much sense that why the person would write about it, but if we go into the bushes, and we've got some red here, so we put red bushes around the bad ones.
Yeah, make it look like they're overgrown and they don't work anymore or something. That's your
Yeah, the
justification.
dummies, they, you know, give them something distinct, and it could be as simple as that. You could be there like, I've differentiated them enough that a player might say, there's got to be something to do with those. And maybe you actually keep the data pad as like, you know, an extra element of the puzzle, which is, you know, hey, pick the nearest one first. You could either write it down, beware the red. I'm making this up as I go along. And
No,
just, you know,
never.
just it really is just up to you how challenging you want to play it and make it. But it really is giving those tools to the creators. And again, all of this stuff is in world because we want you as a group, as like a group of friends or players, to kind of like figure out yourselves. Like somebody go, hey, I found a data pad with some clues on it. Somebody might be standing there looking around going, guys, I think there's something about those red bushes. They don't look right to me. I think there's something up here. And then like, you know, hopefully when you find that solution, you're like, yes, that's how we figured it out. We're so smart. And each puzzle kind of has these. So we've been through this new physics puzzle, and this is the pylon puzzle. If we actually go back to when I was exploring the depths here, this is another one which is what we call the. Oh, this one is complex actually. I forgot how many settings we have on this one. So these are, I add these sort of like monoliths. So in this case, they're actually below the ground. So the player would come down here into this little underground bunker thing, and here they are on the roof that they need to figure out, and I can go through and I can see which ones are what. You'll see they have this little green arrow here, and that is telling them what their target rotation is. And so the way this puzzle is solved is you shoot them, they will actually turn. By an increment that you decide. I think you can also grapple to them as well. Oh, you can in the game. We haven't. It's not set up in the Iron Creator, but you have infinite ammo in the Iron Creator, so it's not probably a problem. And you basically can shoot these, and you need to figure out what's the combination. It's basically like a number lock without the numbers, because again, we wanted this to be in world, so as a group you can kind of solve it together. If we exit out of this, and then if I sort of select the puzzle again, you can see some of the controls on these things. So if I find this, the first one here, actually I need to do it via the main control unit here. It has a target rotation, which is the way it should be facing, and you get to choose that by just dragging this around. You can see the arrow moving. I had the rotation increments as well, so you can say how much does it rotate every time you sort of shoot it. So you still need to like be sure that it can be completed, because if I set it to 90, that means that every time I shoot it, it'll turn 90 degrees. The big complex one, I think, is
This one can get really complex. Just as a
this one is crazy.
disclaimer. Yeah.
So just be generous with this one.
Yeah.
So I think, what was it again? I think it was that. No, because I know I actually, because in this one you can tick this box here, which means that when the player gets the correct direction, we actually just show them. So if I play it now, I would do, but it crashed.
Did it?
It did, yeah.
Oh. Do you want me to load
So-
your island over here?
If you're able to, or at least show something temporarily while I open it back up again.
Yeah, sure. Let's have a look at another island. A classic island creator that is one of my favorites. Sorry, Adam, if you haven't switched to my POV. This is by a guy named Ugly, who was a bit of a legend in the old Worlds Adrift days. He did make a good number of islands that made it into the game. And it's just a really good example of a very unique shaped island that is kind of unlike anything else that we've seen. And it's called the Spine. And it's basically, I guess, just like the remnants of an island. It's like it's mid-explosion, and has these sort of like towering columns. So there's not a lot of space that's like usable by the player, really. But it's such an aesthetic thing to see in the sky, and it's just so interesting to explore, because there's always something crazy in an ugly island. There's always some majestic architecture, or just some like really intensely detailed structure. And in this case, he's actually built like a whole ship that is that's sort of been grounded between these pillars. And yeah, it looks awesome. We've used this island a lot in our test worlds, because it's really interesting to explore. It's really interesting to have like little PvP fights in here. We've got some great videos of us having little like death matches in this ship. And,
I remember like we were practicing the shotgun and just like sending people
Yeah.
flying out of the ship. It was a lot of fun.
It's spent way too long here, and it's also featured in our trailer, I think, because it's such a visual treat, man. So yeah, we have a lot to Ugly. He was responsible for some of the best stuff in Worlds Adrift as well. Him and Synovus and Lexi were like the S tier sort of island creators. But yeah. And you can go and explore this today. You can download the Island Creator on Steam, and all of these islands, when you click play at the start, you are just shown this interface where you can get all of the islands that people have made in the workshop, and you can go have a look around and see what crazy things people are doing, get inspired, or maybe it'll make you want to make your own.
And all for free as well.
Oh yeah, thanks, Adam.
So the Lostskies Island Creator is currently free on Steam. Links in the chat. I don't know if we can do that.
I can do it, but I'm not proud.
Like a PR voice then, like, it's like you're reading a script.
So yeah, and that's I don't think there's. I'm trying to think. Yes, our demo is locked in on islands, but earlier, like sort of where we go in the full game is not determined yet. So if you want your islands to potentially show up in the full game, then you are free to make them, upload to workshop, have a little play, and they could make it in. If not for like sort of the launch of the game, at least when we bring in the custom world stuff, you can actually make an entire world of just your islands if you wanted to. My POV is good to go if we're.
Yep.
You have to let me know when we swapped over there.
Switched. Done.
Sweet. So we're back. And we're back on this monolith puzzle, as we call it. And this time I've set these to actually show the correct direction as you get them. As you get them to point the right direction, I think it's this one. See, they'll turn blue. So this is like the easy one. This is just, obviously they're all here together right now. But you could, if you wanted to, have these spanning the entire island. And so you're like, no, I do want to tell the player when they've got the correct angle, because this is only one of like 5 strewn across the whole island. In this case, I bunched them all up, so it makes less sense for them to tell you when they're correct, because it's really just a case of, oh, just shoot them until they go turn green, no problem. And then you go boom. Okay, thank you. Let's leave this, and then door is open. I've also had it so you get a little chest as well, a big chest as you go to explore these rooms.
You did put little symbols on the floor there, didn't you?
Yes.
Like a little
so
key.
the actual way this puzzle was set up was I turn off show correct angle, which means even if you get them to point the correct way, it's not going to tell you that. But the clue is actually around the puzzles. So you can see I've put these little arrows around that actually correspond to the puzzle elements on the roof below. So this is actually how you would solve it. And I put the little treasure chest there, so you're kind of like, you're really tempted to get in there.
If you're playing with a friend, they could just be standing on top going, yeah, it's down, up, down, left, right.
Yeah.
Or,
so then they can see these symbols here. So you've got one player down here. Obviously, it's still, again, it's always completable solo. None of these puzzles we've designed, so they need multiple players. But in cases like this, it's definitely useful to have another player with you, because I can say, okay, it's almost like Crystal Maze style, isn't it? That's a very obscure reference, I imagine, to anyone who's not born in the 80s and 90s in England. But you enter the little like room, and then you're like shouting out to your friend, like, okay, I can see 3 symbols on the roof, or 5 symbols on the roof. And then you're like, okay, the middle one, top middle, needs to go up, and then either side needs to go down. So you can see here, even though I've got them in the correct angle, they're not turning blue, because it's a mystery. I need to figure it out. It's not easy. It's a harder version of the puzzle. I already know the angle, the correct rotations. So you'll notice when I do get it correct, ta-da, they all turn blue, and puzzle is solved. So that's, again, the same puzzle, made a lot harder by just that simple tick box of does it show the correct angle or not? And then I get access to the ruins, and I get to explore further, get some treasure.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, when you've got like 9 different potential angles, and you've got like 4 of them, it's a safe key, isn't it? It's the same as just trying to put in a code. And so like it would take you forever to like try every iteration if you don't know per digit which one is right. So
and then I kind of introduced you to that idea here, but then if you want to get further on, admittedly it's a bit dark, I apologize. I did actually put some lights in it before, but that was before the game crashed. Maybe in this example I would turn off lighting. I'm sorry, it's now going to not look pretty, but it's for your own good. And the example of how you can kind of play with this, and I know the last one might have seemed quite difficult because it didn't tell you the correct order. This is then escalating it to even more difficult. So again, at this point, I'm hoping the players understood, okay, the symbols correspond to the directions that I need to move these shapes into. And so this one, I can maybe go, oh, this must be related to this room in here. And so what's that? Is that left, up, right? And so I can shoot these and get them correct. And again, you can have multiple players here as well, which makes the solving a little bit easier. But ta-da! Okay, yes, the symbols matched. Of course they did. This is correct. And so you might be thinking, well, this next one, I know how to do this. This is easy. I'll just do it again. So it's right, down, left. No problem. In this case, you have to fight some drones here that will come out of that spawner. A little bit of a challenge. But actually, you can see this room is a little bit worse for wear. It's broken down a little bit. And actually, the puzzle solution has been adjusted. So it's actually still the same logic, but you need to think
I didn't notice. I never seen
where where was the environment before it fell apart, right? Because this world has kind of slowly collapsed, and you can incorporate that into your puzzle solutions. So you're thinking, okay, I know is it right, down, left? I think I can't remember. It doesn't tell you when you solved it, but suddenly I'm like, okay, these ones I know because they're still quite level, but I'm like, okay, well this one, it won't be down, will it? Because if I imagine that this was once a complete sort of track, this is not down. That is, because it needs to be down in relation, like the same as this one, but it's fallen. And so now if I then move this one, again, not dead right, but actually with the angle of the puzzle, it's now solved, because I'm trying to almost like imagine what it was like in the past when it was one clean line. And so that was quite like these little fun ways of, again, just building in more challenge, making the player think about it, playing with this idea, this environmental kind of puzzle solutions and clues. And so, as would have it, I need to fight some turrets. I get there's some drone spawns there, it's a little PvE challenge. But ultimately, I get to the throne room, and I have treasure chests, I have data banks, and that's ultimately your reward for like completing this island, right? So as you see, there was the physics puzzle to solve. There was then all of those key puzzles, but then eventually you then got to the treasure room, and you're going to get to take your place on the
Very
throne.
cool. I didn't know about the puzzles that you've done in there, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's all new to me.
And and that's the thing where we also add here, like with these energy walls as well. Of course, teasing the player. So if you do sort of fly to this island, you can see and you go, "Oh my god, look at all that treasure! Look at all that loot! How do we get in there?
Banks, two big
two
chests,
data banks, two treasure chests.
Like, oh man, we gotta find a way in.
So there's that incentive there, where as a group of players, you're like, okay, like we got to solve this. We got to get in there, and get all that loot.
Yeah.
And that's just one little aspect of the island, because obviously, all these little elements you can build up and layer in, and so you got your forest for some resources. There's extra little points of interest all over. So that you might need your grappling hook to get to.
If I could put myself in the mind of a player, how long did this take you to make? Like this island? Can you put like an hour's count on it, do you think?
I don't know, it was definitely like between 30 and 50 maybe.
Oh wow, it's quite a long time then. So you invested a lot in this.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah.
And it's kind of like, because you kind of you build the landmass and you put stuff together, and then you start sort of layering up, and you want little areas for the player. So I built like a little story here with these guys, almost like they were fighting over the loot. So a couple of bodies, and there's like a guy here like falling over the treasure chest.
Yeah,
he was like
defensive wall there. Nice.
Almost like he was shooting over that, and they had like a little gunfight, and he has some cover here. So you just build up these little stories, and you go through your island and just start to like, just have some fun doing some storytelling and setting up some puzzles and things like that.
Yeah.
You just like kind of like work into it, add little rewards. I think I also like at the top of this tower again. How do I reward some of that exploration? Get players climbing these sort of stuff, and then they find a treasure chest at the top. And I'll see if I have. I don't think I have other puzzles that I actually have in this island.
I mean, you covered a fair few of the modules there.
Yeah, I did the drone, monolith, object hole, and pylon. I kind of covered all of the difficulty things. I don't think relay. It's not in this island, but I don't think it has difficulty settings. Yeah, I know we've talked about what those would be. The kind of puzzle element we talked about, and we haven't really established what the rewards are for them. And you might have seen them when I was in the doing the breakdown stuff. But we have these player challenges. Now, in lore, because we're exploring the remnants of the Saborian civilization, they're quite a military based civilization. So these islands would have, a lot of the time. Oh, I could turn the lighting back on. Let's make it nice again.
Make it pretty.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. Right. Sorry.
And actually, let's find a good angle for me to make this as atmospheric as possible.
Oh, you can press page up and page down to change the time of day. You don't need to put it out of the
Well,
game.
I didn't know that, but
No, I know. It's a bit of a
it's
debug
fine.
feature.
So now we've got some light coming through the door. Kind of very Dune, actually. I think these ruins kind of do
Yeah, the
remind me of
colors,
Dune.
the color palette's very June, isn't it? In this
Yeah.
region.
But you gotta switch it up a bit, make the player sort of feel like they're exploring somewhere new.
Yeah.
So yes, this is subordination. So we a lot of time when we approach the puzzles and the challenges, we think about like why do they exist in the world rather than just be, well, they're there because they're there. And that's why we added these little camp assets, and that's why we added the bodies, right? And the data pads and things like that. You can imagine that like the world has ended, and there's obviously stragglers like left around the world. In this case, it's the Saborian military. They were the ones who are fighting the Seraph. If you have watched our latest trailer, you will see some of the things responsible for the end of the world. And so they would have been stranded. Maybe their ship crashed and got damaged in a fight or something. And so they're stranded on these islands. And so that's why they've got their like crates and containers that you're looting, and bits are falling apart. This is where those last survivors would have been sort of holed out against the Seraph. But the Saborians were always like, it's all about training. We're hard military people. We're gonna we're gonna keep sharp. And so in the Saborian sort of like puzzle challenges, we have stuff like the shooting range, which when you activate, it actually creates targets for you to shoot. And as a player, you can kind of set these up to sort of challenge the player. I think for some reason this one's set to be like you have to stand still. There we go. I completed it. That's fine. These also have like difficulty settings and adjustments that you can make, and every player can basically take part in these. So the other puzzles you saw, they're kind of like cooperative based, which means like if one person completes them, it completes for everybody. So hey, if I unlock that door, or if I solve this pylon puzzle, it solves for everybody. These player challenges are more like personal things that we kind of want almost. They're kind of like mini games in a way. They will give you some personal progression to your character, so you will want to complete them individually. But it does mean that like as players, you can find one of these, and you can then, maybe you find your best weapon that you've been investing into, and then you can basically like kind of almost like race each other and try to complete these as fast as you can and take kind of turns, and see who is the best shot.
I'd say this is
and we really want to
traditionally
like
the most gamey part of
Yeah.
our game, right? Is like we just put these little player challenges in.
But we kind of wanted you to like, when you saw me like solving all those puzzles to get to the throne room, I like the idea that you could get there and suddenly there's like a little challenge down there, that you suddenly might get sidetracked in your adventure and spend like 30 minutes trying to like beat each other's times like on this shooting range, or on the other one that I'll show you. And I think those are those little, just fun little interactive things that you can do on the islands that really make them memorable ultimately. We want you to be on this grand journey, and there might have been a particularly tough or fun challenge or like shooting range that you did, and you'll remember it, and that's what makes you remember this huge journey that you've been on, because you'll go, oh, I remember that island that we found that had that amazing like shooting challenge, and we were there for like an hour trying to beat each other's scores. And then next time you sort of like are traveling the world and you come across it again, you'll see it, and maybe you want to try out your new weapons on it and see if you can beat the times that you got before. It really is just layering all these little moments and interactions on throughout the game, really. And again, something that is not achievable with procedural generation, and really taking full advantage of what players can create. So you'll see here, actually go to it. This is why you would have seen some of these little orbs floating around, because that's actually from these puzzles. And this is very similar to how we showed up before with the other puzzles. So if I want to add like more targets or remove them, I can simply select one. I can duplicate it, place it somewhere else, place it there, and suddenly now, okay, there's 2 more extra targets to to shoot in this puzzle. But actually going back to the settings on this thing, there's a lot. So there's a tick box, which is show all at once, which is what it's currently set to, which means that as soon as I start the challenge, there's everything there, and it's all about like, okay, there they all are, like what's the correct order, like how fast can I shoot them? If I actually do show, if I tick that off, you'll see now that when I start the shooting challenge, they appear one at a time.
Yeah.
So suddenly it's like, you know, it's reacting fast, almost like a memory game, kind of like where are they, where do they appear, how quickly can I get them? And again, just with a simple tick box, I've kind of changed the feel of that challenge and that puzzle. And then the other one I can actually tick, which is stay on pad. So as you can see, there's a little barrier around here, which I think is still kind of placeholder. It doesn't quite line up. But if I was to, if I was to start this puzzle, that barrier means that I have to stay on the pad. If I kill some of these and I leave it, the challenge ends because I've actually stepped off of the pad. And that's ways that we can, again, make some like diversity in challenges. If I tick that off, you'll notice that the barrier goes. And this means I'm actually free to move around once the challenge has started. So once the challenge has started, I can, and now I'm free to move around. And that could be because you want the player to, maybe some of these challenges, these targets are hidden, and I actually force the player to move. Now I've got to move and go and maybe get close enough or find them. So this is more like a hide and seek kind of setup, where suddenly I have to be mobile and run around and hit the targets. So that's another option you can do. Also on top of this, you then have the classic stuff, which is timer. So just how long do I have? That's obviously going to determine how difficult or easy your puzzle is. Pretty self-explanatory.
It might be important to mention that the player challenges, the eventual idea is that they will reward you with stuff when you first complete them. So it's not just like just like a throwaway thing. There's loot to be gained from them, if I understand.
Yeah, we're still determining exactly what they give you. We know we want to give you like a rewarding kind of first time kind of completion. And it's just obviously, we're still sort of juggling some of those systems and finding out like what's a really kind of valuable thing that the player is going to be compelled to seek out.
It's not cheap gameplay just added for no reason. There will be a reason for you to interact with them in the full game. Yeah.
And instead, we've even considered their lore implications, right? So in this case, we were there like, the actual survivors from the end of the world, they would have set these up to keep themselves sharp, to keep them well trained with shooting, because as far as they were aware, they were still at war. The Seraph was still out there. They wanted to, even though they had shipwrecked, they didn't know when they were going to be attacked, either by, who knows, maybe other humans or the Seraph drones. So they would have wanted to keep themselves sharp. And as we expand the game, we go into other civilizations and other regions of the world. These puzzles are going to change because suddenly when you're not in the Saborian parts of the world, those puzzles are going to change and reflect hopefully that culture and something that's equally kind of fun and challenging that kind of matches the lore there. The other puzzle one that we have that's similar to the shooting range, because we want to take advantage of all the cool kind of systems and gameplay that we have. So this is the other one, which is like I believe it's called the Data Strand puzzle. Some of this is still placeholder with the art here, but this one is almost like this old sort of like computer that has some valuable data on it. And so when I start it, it actually will then kind of have fragments of data strewn throughout the world, and I have a bit of time to find them. And so suddenly I'm like, okay, there's sort of one, I can collect them.
It's a checkpoint.
And this is, it's use your grapple, use your glider, like as fast as you can. You've got limited time. And also these can be used as a guide as well. You'll notice that I'm actually suddenly kind of going off to the very similar direction that the other sort of object puzzle was. And so here we want to take full advantage of you using your grapple to swing and collect these. If anyone's taken part in the race that we have been holding, the contest, will be familiar with this sort of puzzle. And so I go, yes, I've completed it. But suddenly I'm like, wait, what's this? There's like an object puzzle here. I want to solve that. And so it can be used in a multitude of ways. It could just be, hey, here's a fun challenge, like sort of grapple race, versus, hey, actually here, like I want to bring the player to like a point of interest. They might be so distracted just completing it, but when they finish it, they go, wait, hey guys, I found a door here. How do we get through it? I can see that we need to like find a key. And so that's a way you can kind of guide the player around your island to points of interest, right? And again, these have their own controls as well. You have the show all at once. You'll notice that one was actually sequential, because I wanted to kind of guide the player. But you could just as easily make like quite a complex environment and spawn them all at once, and so the player really is a case of like run around and quickly find them before the time runs out. But then you also have a timer again, and this is quite cool. In this one, we actually have the additional pickup time, so I can set this timer quite low, like only 10 seconds, right? But every time I pick up an orb, I can say I'm going to give the player 5 seconds. And so just by doing that, you kind of change the kind of like dynamic of this. Suddenly now I'm like very strapped on time, but for each one I pick up, I gain some time. And obviously because I've turned off the show all at once, I've ticked on the show all at once, they're all there immediately. So it doesn't actually matter now which order I collect them in. So I'm now sort of rushing around this environment, and I know that each one I collect is going to increase my time. So I've got to use my wits and my grapple skills, get around as quickly as possible. But as it could be, I might have made this one too difficult if I just deliberately miss this one and go, it was too challenging and I failed. And then maybe, a friend will come along and show you how it's done because they're a much better grappling hook player than you. But that's what it is. It's little kind of challenges and puzzles for, to really elevate these islands and get you just exploring the mechanics and having some fun, memorable moments. Hopefully.
Yeah, is that all the puzzles covered? I think you did.
That
was quite a speed.
That is all of them.
Of
we haven't
of every
done
module.
We didn't look at the relay one. That's the last one. I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe you could just do a quick example of the relay.
We can quickly show that. I was just going to go through the questions. I know we've been.
I've been sort of answering in text, so don't worry too much.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the one about the dialogue.
Yeah, huge shout out to Andy as well, who's very rapid with these responses. I've not actually managed, apart from the one I read to you, I've not managed to save any of them because they've all been responded to. So, yeah, if anyone's got any questions, throw them through in chat and we'll try and answer them live.
And Andy will answer them.
Yeah.
We'll just sit here and chill.
No, it's good. I mean, if everyone's in the Discord, you'll know Andy as Pickle. He's very active there and is happy to jump in and answer questions and all that jazz. I was going to see if there's any. I mean, there's the puzzle elements. I know we did go into a little bit of those. We saw those in the.
Just show the mechanics of the relay because it's quite cool. Like
this one's a very cool one.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think if I can think of a version that like it shows some of the other little systems we can use. So this is very rough.
Yeah.
Very rough, but we're gonna do it anyway. So we add the root one, and then I add a receiver. So this is where I need the lasers to get to. And so the way I might set this up is I can go. If I put it right here, then it's actually quite simple. It's just going to point directly at it, like right from the start. Well, actually, it might not do because it's kind of blocked by the terrain. But let's say I'm going to take this receiver. This might or may not work, but I'm going to place it inside this building. So I know off the bat, this puzzle cannot be solved. Now, it's very easy to make stuff that doesn't work. So if I start the game now, this doesn't work. It literally cannot see where it's supposed to aim to. It needs some extra relays. And this is your classic point the laser where it needs to go. And so from a lore perspective, this would have been the Saborians kind of transferring data around that could not be intercepted because it was physical. So they realized early on that the Seraph, being machines, had compromised all their networks. So this was them creating a physical relay network that would allow them to still transfer data over distances and over islands. So here it's now got a relay, so it can point to it. This is the starting one, and it will then aim at the first one in the list. So this is quite obvious. I can see where it is, and I can go over to it, and I can then be in control of it, and I can point the laser. Now, you know, we put the receiver inside this building, but as you can see, there's no way this laser is going to be able to get there. It's completely blocked. So I'm going to need to have more. So I can simply go to this receiver here and say, well, let's duplicate that. Let's put it down by the camp. Make sure that I can imagine it's seeing the other one through the doorway. And let's make sure this one can actually target it. Maybe it can if it threads through this bit of wood. That's maybe a bit close. Let's put it up on here.
Just so the viewers know, we have a slight technical hitch at the moment where the video is out of sync slightly with the cameras and your voice. So you're seeing things ever so slightly afterwards, I think, on the camera as to what's being explained. We are working on new stuff with streaming and what we're going to be doing in the future. So this is a temporary issue. It'll be fixed.
Do we sound like we're badly dubbed in like a?
Yeah.
In like
No,
a foreign movie?
it's not your voice with your camera. It's the stuff that's being explained on the screen is out of sync with what Luke's saying. So yeah.
Oh, that's because he's going at like 10,000 miles an hour. So I kind of understand that. Yeah.
Oh, it could just be There's a lot to cover. We've got limited time. So now I've added the other relay that should be in range, or should be able to target the other one. I can go there and then I can point at this one, activate that, and then grab this one and go boom, hit the receiver. There we go, puzzle complete. So that's how the relay puzzle works. It kind of creates this very visual kind of dynamic on the island. And I can see now that, yes, that's activated. And maybe that's where we hook up the treasure chests and other rewards for that. But what's kind of cool is we're going to start trying to actually hook these things together. So I'm going to go back to this pylon puzzle, and let's take out that input there. So we reduced it back down to just these two to complete it. And what we're going to say is we're going to build an energy wall. Oh, no.
I see what you're planning.
Ta-da! So this energy wall, I'm relying on this to actually work, but we'll find out.
Why wouldn't it work, Luke? It's bug-free application.
Yeah. So this is all I need to do now is grab this pylon puzzle and hook it up to the energy wall. Now that's turned it off by default, which actually means if I complete this puzzle, this wall will turn on, which is not what we don't want. What we want is when I complete that puzzle, this energy wall turns off. So you can see there's a little toggle here on quite a few puzzle elements, which means when all inputs are complete, what should it do? I can see the inputs here are the pylon puzzle. That's the only one. If there was multiple, they'd come up in that list. And I can just say, okay, when that input is complete, when that pylon puzzle is finished, I want you to deactivate, which means that this energy wall is on by default, but when the pylon puzzle is complete, it's going to turn off. So as you can see, this relay puzzle is not completable currently because the energy wall is actually blocking it. You'll have to excuse it's not very well set dressed and it doesn't make much sense. It's just sitting there floating, but hopefully it's the example kind of makes sense. So I'm like, again, it's visual, it's in world. A friend might have come across this and gone, hey, I found a relay puzzle, but we can't complete it because this thing is blocking. How do we solve it? And you can add clues. Maybe there's a data pad there. Maybe there's some symbols on the ground, decoration to tell you that it's somehow related to this generator here. But upon completing this one here by connecting all the pylons, when this is completed, but the energy wall is gone, the pylon, the relay can reach its destination, and then I can continue on and finish this puzzle. And I've created like a little chain there, and this chain can, I mean, it can go on as far as you want, right? If I go back to this mode, I can say, let's add, you know, a shootable switch that's hidden here. And this switch is actually hooked up to the generator. That generator is now off. I cannot solve that generator puzzle unless this switch has been shot. And that might, you know, you might say that that's a bit of a leap. How's the player going to know that? There's other things you can do. We have this really cool thing that we added, which is a light indicator. So if you wanted to, I can then say,
oh, look, you know what you could do? You could make like 3 or 4 light indicators along the path from the switch to that, and then hook it up
absolutely,
to all of them.
yeah.
You should.
So that's what I'm doing.
Oh,
We're
okay,
at sync.
Cool. Sorry, yeah, of course. The video's delayed.
So here I've done that. So that kind of looks like a little path there, maybe. And I basically go through the path. I say this, when I shoot this, it activates that. When that activates, it activates that. When that activates, it activates that. And this finally activates the generator. So now, just from wanting to, like, you know, solve this relay puzzle, I'm like, okay, I need to turn on this generator. I can see that it's not turned on. There's no light. If I grapple to it, my grappling hook cable is not being energized. But what are these red lights? Oh, what are they? Where are they going? I follow them. Oh, there's a shootable switch here. Let's shoot it. Ta-da! All the lights are now lit. Generator's on. I solve that. It then turns on the relay. Like, turns off the energy wall. I can then connect the relay puzzle. So that's what I mean by this constant layering and layering. You can go even further. This is just to demonstrate and just be more annoying. Here's an interactable switch. And so actually, this. Wait, why does it not have? Oh, my UI is bugged. Help!
Oh,
Can't do anything now.
Oh, does that lock it out completely? Oh dear.
Yeah. Because I don't think I can activate it. What I was going to do.
Who made this piece?
Is actually, I was going to hook up this switch to this shooting switch. You couldn't even shoot it until you interacted with this. Yeah. Just to kind of show the, you know.
I think,
so I'd have to interact with that, and then I could shoot that, and then I could do the pylon puzzle, and that would turn off that. So it's completely open-ended in that regard. You really are free to network and hook up these puzzles in any order you want. And that's what's ultimately going to give your island a unique experience, challenge the player in ways they weren't expecting. And so that's been the main sort of focus for what we can do in Lostskies.
Yeah, just to briefly go over the last few things that we haven't touched on in the gameplay category. There is threats now as well, so you can place specific AI spawners, but they won't show up in the island creator. It's important to say that there is this sort of placeable group spawner object that you can put around, and you can select what kind of AI you want to be there. I think we only support drones at the moment.
So I got it right now. I put one down.
So you've got an easy, medium, and hard drone group that you can spawn there. I'd say when someone comes to the island, there'll be a few drones spawning around there. But
so you can say a hard one, a medium one, easy one.
Yeah. This doesn't affect the sort of procedural AI spawns and things that we do in the game, but it's just if you really want something to be there, you can sort of force the generation to put some drones there. And they also have an input, so if you'd like it so that when somebody solves a puzzle or when they open a door or something, then these drones suddenly teleport into existence and
and you can say hey, when you, I know my UI is a little bit broken, but the hookups can be hey, when I open these chests, the drones spawn, so you can have those little kind of surprise attacks if you wanted to. And we're going to expand on that feature set as well. We there's a lot we can do there to really sort of
and
surprise the player and set up these little set pieces.
Yeah, it's the same for the turrets as we saw on the Hermit's Hideaway Island. Like those can have inputs and outputs, so there can be a situation where when you hit a switch to open a door, also a couple of turrets come on. But turrets also have outputs, so like maybe a door doesn't open until you've killed the turrets. So there's all of this sort of like possibility by there being this incredibly simple at its core puzzle system, which is inputs and outputs. Everything has 3 possible states, which is on, off, and complete. Those are the only 3 states for every single object in the island creator. If nothing's connected to it, it will just default to being on. If you connect something to it, it will be off until its inputs are complete. Then it will send the complete message onwards once it's complete. So that's the whole puzzle system. So the idea was to try and keep it as simple as possible. There has been like a few people saying like they want logic gates and they want very.
I think they've made logic gates using those light indicators.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's possible.
Things, they've set them up to basically create.
Which I love, by the way. I think it's amazing when people do that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. The Alumix, the Wind Wall is definitely going to be in the game. Yes.
Yeah. So weather walls are back. Don't worry. Hopefully a little bit more. Got a little bit more elements to them. A little bit more challenging, maybe. We know that the actual shipbuilding itself has got quite. Well, it's an overhaul. We built the shipbuilding from scratch this time. So there's a lot of extra little systems and features involved in the shipbuilding. I imagine we'll have a stream in the future where we actually show off the actual game rather than the island creator.
Absolutely.
You can imagine, especially with the demo that we have coming out in NextFest, that we will most likely be streaming that before or very close to when the demo releases. So keep an eye out on Discord and socials, because I'm sure Adam will make sure that we announce all of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some incredible stuff coming up for you. So I guess we've shown everything with the island creator now. We can sort of wind this. Are we winding this down now, or have you got more to go?
I think that's every kind of thing we wanted to cover. But like, I don't mind if there's more questions or whatever, like answering or just exploring. But like that we've covered like every sort of system and section in the thing to some level, to sort of like at over a top level. Basically,
it's very hard to cover everything you can do, but hopefully that gives people an idea of the options that are available, what our kind of thoughts were behind them, and how you would use them. And then hopefully the greatest thing about a lot of this is watching the players go away and just do something that we never anticipated. A nice, like a unique combination of these puzzle elements that make you like really go, wow, that's incredible. Like, because when we feel like that, we can only imagine what players who have just they've just picked up this game, they're going in blind and playing it, and then they actually come across that puzzle or that challenge that you've made, and they figure it out, and that's just one island of hundreds, right? And every island you visit is going to have its own little challenges and secrets and things to figure out, and it really was like the big push here was I want a world sort of like very akin to Breath of the Wild, where you're rewarded for always seeking out those little secrets and finding a little puzzle here and there, but I want it to be something that's shared. I want it to be because you and your friends came across it and figured it out and explored it together. You saw the amount of sort of support that was behind people trying to mod multiplayer into Breath of the Wild, and that really was like our sort of like driving force was like, okay, let's actually do like multiplayer Breath of the Wild, but mixed with all of those things that we loved and we're making in Worlds Adrift with your shipbuilding and exploring all those handcrafted islands.
Yeah, absolutely. The possibilities are kind of endless. So I'm thinking, sorry, Tom, you're going to say something. You glitched out a little bit then.
Sorry, I just said, what he said.
Oh, okay.
Actually, our legally distinct Koroks are, if anyone remembers the data banks from Worlds Adrift, they are our Korok seeds. Essentially, I know there's one on this island, so if you get a little bit curious and you explore here, there we have one. There is the Lostskies snazzified databank, and scanning these will essentially give you your Korok seed. And these can be buried away behind ruins and energy walls and stuff, so they can still be hidden and challenging to find. And then that's what you then use to. Again, we always try to tie things into lore and story. So these have a wealth of Saborian technology and treasure trove of data. So when you actually obtain these discs, you can then go to, I guess not to spoil it, but a kind of device, and that's able to decrypt those data discs, and that will unlock via like a tech tree, Saborian technology. So you're able to go through that and choose and select what kind of technology you want to unlock, and maybe if you've got friends, you can kind of work together to unlock little bits at a time. So
I like you trying to be careful and not give away stuff that we haven't
Yes.
given away yet. Yeah, that's good.
That's good. It's that part of the stream where slip-ups can happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, someone's asking about a map, Tom. So that might be your domain.
A map
Mm.
in the game, obviously, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we do have an object that you can place on your ship that is a map table. That are we allowed to talk about this? Oh, I guess it's too late.
There's one's gone out in the Skywatch for sure about that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Well, this is
Yeah,
all stuff we've
yeah.
publicly shown if you go through the Skywatches, which you can do on our website.
Great. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So there is a map table that is a top-down version of the world that you can scroll around and see where the other islands are. It also gives you the ability to track the players that are registered to that ship, so you can effectively have like a somewhat of a crew of people that are all registered to the core of that ship, and they'll all be shown on the map as well as little icons. Yeah, it works as you'd expect. It's a map of the whole the world that you're in, but it does take a little bit of time before you get to the point where you can build a map table. It's one of those things that's kind of like early mid on the tech
Yeah,
tree.
so I mean, when I just mentioned that tech tree, you do not get the map straight away, and you actually have to find the islands first. You can't just sort of like, it's never just a here's everything. It's like here's what you found so far kind of thing.
I'm kind of obsessed with that feeling of being lost in a world, and that, I mean, it's the first name of the game, right?
Yeah.
It's like I really enjoy when you first enter a game and you don't really know how it all works. You're trying to work things out, and you don't know the limits of the game. I think that's really exciting. And so if you give someone a map straight away, they automatically know, okay, well, this is how big the world. Yeah. So it's like it's kind of like a mid.
And we talked about custom servers, and because this is a ship part, it's not you don't just press the M key and get a map.
Yeah.
In this game, there's every chance that like on your server you've literally just disabled that ship part. You're like, nobody can build maps on my world. Like, you're all flying blind, and I think that's kind of exciting as well.
Yeah. Shamoni asks, do players start with Glider and Atlas Lifter? They are both things that you get within the first island, but you do need to find them. Yes. Yeah.
And what Birchwood said before, like, the way we set this up is that we are uncovering Saborian technology in the Saborian region, but when we actually add other cultures and civilizations, they will actually have their own source of like unearthing their data, and they will have their own tech tree. So yeah, that allows us to have a whole new path when you eventually reach those new areas. There's a whole lot of more stuff to unlock and find as well.
Means we can make more new toys as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Lostskies Island Crater. A world of possibilities, for sure. I think one thing to mention here is that we are constantly on the lookout for user-generated content using this. So, UGC, that's the insider term. So, anytime that you make an island, please share it. tag us in social media, do all of that stuff. Send us a little video. We're looking to put you guys in the spotlight. So anytime that you can expose this content to us, we can get it out there. And you never know, you could maybe be the next sort of MVP island creator. And you don't know unless you try, right? So give it a whirl.
The next Synovus or Ugly or Lexi.
Yeah, exactly.
We had,
Yeah.
I've been seeing great stuff.
Yeah, and the islands that are being made now, you know, like they're making their way into the game already. The actual process for getting islands in is a lot more streamlined in Lostskies. So it's actually a very quick turnaround to get them in the game, and showing up. And so, yeah, there's every chance that in those, I think the greatest reward, I mean, even for us as creators, is watching people experience what you've made, and it's really great that like players playing our game kind of get to share a little bit of that, because you get to see people discovering your island and uncovering those secrets and overcoming those puzzles and challenges. And it's just it's a great thing to experience. And yeah, I hope that's kind of what really motivates people to make some awesome stuff.
Cool. So yeah, just one quick thing on wishlist. Now, the best way to support us at this stage of development is to wishlist Lostskies. Get as many people that you know that would enjoy the game to wishlist Lostskies too. Anything like that is really good. Join our Discord, start talking to us. We're human beings. A lot of people see developers as evil corporate monsters. We're definitely not that. We're very approachable. Come and talk to us. Yeah, so I've got notes here. I usually do outro with notes, but I've been I'm still stressing about having to resize those cameras earlier on in the stream, so we'll be all right. Next time it will be perfect, I promise. So
yeah, it'll be better next time.
Yeah, promise. So yeah, huge thanks to Tom and Luke for talking to us all. I've not been here long, so I have learned quite a lot watching this myself, to be honest. Thanks for watching. Remember to join our Discord, really important. Follow us on all our socials for all the latest news, giveaways, events and more. Lostskies Island Creator is available to play right now for free on Steam. We've been Bossa, and we'll see you in the skies. Bye for now.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.